Alright, in this lesson we'll talk a little bit about similar triangles, and let's get the idea of what it is generally. A similar triangles would be when you have triangles that have been enlarged. If you did any work on transformations and you know about enlargements, then they'll be enlarged. You'll see it's just basically the same triangle, just a little bit bigger. And one of the main things that make triangles similar is the fact that the angles inside them will be exactly the same. So as you can see, I'm marking out angles here that will be the same. So this angle and that angle will correspond to each other and be the same, and this angle and that angle will correspond to each other and be the same, and so would the 90-degree angle that you can see over here and over here. And that's one of the things that would make triangles similar. If triangles are similar, then it means that I'm just going to put some A, B, C, and D here. Then this is true. A over C is equal to B over D. So if triangles are similar, then this ratio is actually true. And notice what I've done here. I have taken the corresponding side. This side corresponds to that one. So that the small over the big, small over big, is equal to the corresponding small over big, small over big. If you want, you can go the other way around, so it works the same way the other way around. You can say C over A is the same as D over B. So long as you pick whichever way you're going and stick to it, then that is fine. So as I was saying, if triangles are similar, then it means that these ratios are true. Let's and I'll talk about a little bit about the ratio of them as well. But let's go and look at an example. Okay, so here I've got a pair of triangles that would be similar, and we'll look at this in two different ways on how we're going to solve it. The first way is the way I've showed you on the previous slide. If they are similar, then this is true. I will take the corresponding sides and divide them, and then put them equal to each other. So I will call this method 1. Using what I've shown you just now, I can now say x over 16 is equal to 6 over 12. I have chosen to go from the smaller triangle to the bigger one, so x over its corresponding side 16 is equal to 6 over its corresponding side 12. We're trying to find out what the length of x is. Now, once I've got two fractions on either side of an equal sign, I can cross multiply that there to go and find x. So when I cross multiply, x will multiply by 12, giving me 12x, and 16 will multiply by 6, giving me 96. And now, because I just want x, I will divide by that 12 to get rid of it. So x will now equal to 96 divided by 12, which is going to give me 8. Okay, so now that I know x is 8, then that's done. Let's have a look at method 2. Method 2. And we can use this method because it's pretty straightforward. So what we can see here is I will use the method of using a ratio. So I'm going to say for my corresponding side, this as a ratio to that will be 6 to 12. And if I simplify that ratio, then 6, if I divide everything by 6, I'm just going to say here that I'm dividing by 6. And if I divide everything by 6, then it's going to be a 1 to 2 ratio, which basically means that my bigger triangle is double the size of my smaller triangle. Well, let's put it into perspective. It's now going to give me x to 16 if I decided to take the corresponding sides, x to 16. Now I know I have to get a 1 to 2 ratio there. So just think about it really. How can I get 2 to become 16? Well, I have to multiply it by 8. Just do the same thing there, then multiply 1 by 8, and I will get 8. So that tells me that x is equal to 8. So those are the two methods you can use. Let's look at another problem. Okay, so here we have another problem, and I'll just put the measurements in. So we've got 10. I'm not going to bother with any units right now because not really necessary. Then we've got 12 there, we've got a 5 here, we've got an x there, and a y here. Okay, and we need to find what x and y would be. Well, let's do exactly what we're doing before. Now, obviously, this 10 will correspond with that 5 over here. Okay, and then we can have the y corresponding with 26 and x corresponding with 12. Just imagine that the triangles have been flipped over and they actually match each other, but they are similar. Okay, got a couple of 90-degree angles in there to confirm that. Okay, let's start with method 1. So for my method 1, if they are similar, then this is true. I'm going to go and find x first. Okay, so as we say, so this is true. So let's go now. Well, actually, let's remind ourselves where we should be looking. So 5 and 10 are corresponding. So it means that 5 divided by 10 is going to be equal to, and since I'm finding x, it'll have to be 12 divided by x. I'm going from the small triangle to the big one, so that's why 5 was over 10. Now 12 needs to go on top of x. So I'm going to have 12 over x there. All right, just the same trick I showed you before. We will cross multiply, so 12 and 10 will multiply, 5 and x will multiply. So 5 times x gives us 5x equals to 12 times 10 over there gives us 120. To finish off, we will say that x is going to be equal to 120 divided by 5, which gives us 24. So we'll do 120 divided by 5 there. Okay, and that will give us 24. Okay, lovely. Now we will try it doing method 2. So that's just my x there. And method 2, we will now use ratio to do it. So I'm going to match things up first. I know that 5 to 10 is if I divide by 5, so I'm going to divide everything by 5 there. Obviously, it's a common factor between the two. If I divide by 5, I will get a 1 to 2 ratio. Okay, so just the same way, I'll match things up here with the x and the 12. So coming from the smaller triangle, which is the 12, to x, is what we're going to need there to find that answer. Well, just look at what you've got. 1 all of a sudden became 12. So think of it. For 1 to become 12, I have to multiply it by 12. Okay? And just the same way, to find out what 2 will become, multiply that by 12 as well, and you will get 24. So therefore, x is equal to 24. Okay, so we got the same answer. All right, we can do the same thing to find y, but I'm going to choose to go with method 2 to find y because, well, you got the idea now. You can do the same thing. You can literally go for, if you're going method 1, you can say 5 over 10 is equal to y over 26. But I tend to like, in simple problems like this, I tend to favor the method 2. So I'm going to go for method 2. So you can work this out if you want, okay? So anyway, I will go for, well, I'll use the same 1 to 2 ratio because 1 to 2 will have to be the same for all sides in the triangle. So 1 to 2 will be the same as y to 26. Okay, let's make my 26 look a bit more pronounced there. So y over 26, and notice that this is the small triangle to the big one. So small triangle to the big one. The y is on the small triangle. 26 is on the big one. Okay. Now think of what happened here. I have to multiply 2 by 13 to get 26. So if I multiply 1 by 13, it means that y will be the answer to that, which is 13. So y is equal to 13. Okay, and that's basically it, guys. What I want to do now is move on to more difficult problems. So if you think you've had enough, you might want to stop the video here and try and do some problems on your own. But now I'll move on to more difficult stuff. Okay, so a typical B grade question, or if you're going to be doing the new GCSE, then this will be, I would say, a grade 6 type question. Okay, so here we go. We need to go now and find out what this value of x is. If you can't see it straight away on the two triangles, then it might be an idea to separate them. So I'll probably do this just once. I'll take out this little triangle here, and I will draw it over there. So this is 3, sorry, let's rub that out and say this is 3, and that's going to be 4. And then I'll draw the bigger triangle now, which would look something more like that. And down at the bottom here we have x, but the length of this side is that whole length there, which is 4 plus 8, and that's going to be 12. Okay, now that we've got that, we can now go and find x. Again, you can use method 1 or method 2. I will go with method 1 first, just to show you that it works. Method 1, if I go from the smaller to the bigger one, you can go big to small if you like, doesn't matter, it'll still work out. 3 corresponds with x, so I will go 3 over x is equal to 4 corresponds with 12, so 4 over 12. Then you cross multiply there, thereby giving you 4x is equal to 12 times 3 is 36. Divide by 4 and you will get 9. 36 divided by 4 is 9. So we know x is 9. If you want to go for method 2, for questions like this, I like method 2. Find a ratio of 4 to 12. And if I divide everything by 4, I'm going to get that it's a ratio 1 to 3. And now that I know that it's 1 to 3, then I'm bearing in mind this is small triangle to big triangle is a 1 to 3 ratio. So do the same thing here and say that this is going to be 3 to x. And in order to get that 3, I had to multiply that 1 by 3. So do the same thing here. Multiply 3 by 3, and then you're going to get that x is going to be 9. Okay, so pretty straightforward problem there with that one. Okay, let's do one more problem and then we'll call it a day. Okay, so this is our final problem in this lesson, and I'll just put some measurements in here now. So we got 15, we've got 12 there, we've got 16 here, and we have got x just there. Okay, so again, if you can't see it very well, if you can't see the two triangles and how they relate to each other, it might be an idea to separate them. So if you separate them, you're going to get the little triangle out here, giving you 15 there and 12 here, and then you're going to have the bigger triangle giving you 16 here and 15 plus x there. Okay, so that whole side here is 15 plus x, and this whole side is 16, as you can see there. And in the little triangle, you've just got 15 and 12. All right, well, let's get to work. So I'll use both methods again to prove the point. So method 1, if they are similar to each other, then it means that I can take this and put it over that, thereby giving me 12 divided by 16 is equal to this on top of that, thereby giving me 15 divided by 15 plus x. Again, I can cross multiply like we did before. So 12 will multiply by that. So 12 into 15 plus x is equal to this times that, which will be 16 times 15. I just want to pause here to point out the fact that I've used brackets. You have to use brackets for that, because if you don't, then you're just multiplying the 12 by the 15, so you must use the brackets. Also, now I'm about to expand the brackets, and that basically means that 12 will multiply by 15, and 12 will also multiply by that x. So 12 times 15 gives us 180 plus 12x is equal to, we have to do 16 times 15, and that gives us 240. Now we have a quick little equation we can solve. You can use a flow chart if you want, or you can, work it whichever way you like, but this is going to be, well, if you use a flow chart, you can say, oh, well, I think of a number, times it by 12, then I add 180, my answer is 240. So the first thing you do would be your 240, take away 180, which is going to give us 60. And then the thing you do before that was multiply by 12. So now I need to divide by 12. So I divide that by 12, which gives me 5. So I know the value of x is 5. And this is now done. If you decide to go for method 2, so I'm going to put M2 here for method 2, then find the ratio first. So I will go from the smaller one to the bigger one. So my ratio then will be 12 to 16. The common factor I can divide by is 4, so I will divide everything by 4, and that will simplify this down to a 3 to 4 ratio, which is all right. Now, it does mean now that the 15 and that is also on a 3 to 4 ratio, so let's write it down. So 15 goes there, 2, 15 plus x. Don't worry about it, it's not scary. Okay, for 3 to become 15, I have to multiply by 5. And just the same way, I have to multiply that 4 by 5 as well. Sorry, I said 5 and I wrote 4. Terrible. So 4 by 5. Now I already know that 4 times 5 is 20. So it means that this whole thing here has to equal to 20. So now I'm going to say 15 plus x is equal to 20. And then it's just now a matter of bringing this 15 on that side, thereby giving me x is equal to 20, take away 15, which is 5. Okay, so I've shown you two methods. Choose whichever method you like. Make sure that you're secure in it when you go to practice it. Alright guys, so I hope that this was straightforward. I hope that you were able to learn something about similar triangles. Feel free to pop me any questions if you have any on this matter.